Deuteronomy. All right, last book of the Torah. This was a good one. So this one was basically a summary of the first four books of the Bible of the Torah. With that said, it wasn't just a summary. There was some additional information in there, along with some specifics on past events from the Torah, the beginning of Exodus and Genesis and Leviticus, that it went a little bit in more detail in a few places. It spoke about the giants a couple more times, about 3-4 times, I believe. Again, God was not a very merciful God to many. At this time, it seemed like he was only merciful, and not always, to the Israelites, which, puts a lot of questions in me, because there was many, many, many more people than the Israelites in this, in God's green earth. And I can't see the understanding of why love one people's more than the other, why punish other people more than the other, why punish your own people, why is there free will, why gift free will yet punish if you do any other will than your will. So there's a lot of questions. Nevertheless, a beautiful book, a beautiful collection of books, a lot of amazing history, a lot of amazing wisdom, with a lot of questions, putting not one single person survived. We conquered all 60 of his towns on, King Og, who was the last survivor of the giant Raphaelites. For some reason, I think trying to set a picture of what the giant was, or what a giant he was, they put the measurement of his bed was 13 feet long and 6 feet wide, which that's a fairly large bed. Moses goes on and recaps everything, recaps the commandments, but he does not hesitate to punish and destroy who reject him. That's one of the many parts of the free will. It's like, okay, you give free will to, and then in other places it talks about he gives you a choice, but it's like, I will punish, not, I won't be with you if you reject me, which is how we take it nowadays, but it's I will punish you, at least then. 40 days and 40 nights, this is another one of those things that it goes a little bit more specific, because before it seemed like if it was only once. And according to Deuteronomy, and if you start really going through and taking notes and highlighting, which is, what I've been doing the whole time, and taking notes on this, and, making videos, I've come down and I could, maybe there's some, but I'm pretty certain that Moses retreated 40 days and 40 nights for 3 times. Pretty consecutive. You don't see it throughout here, but in Deuteronomy, you kind of put it together, where he went 40 days and 40 nights when he got the 10 Commandments, the 2 tablets that were written by the finger of God himself. And then when he came down, the Israelites had made a idol of a golden calf, and he threw the tablets down, shattered them. That's when he grounded the thing and put it in the water, made them drink it. So, in changing God's mind of not annihilating them for doing so, even though he did punish them quite severely, um, here, not before, but here, it shows that he again went to the mountain 40 days, 40 nights with no water. Here, they were very specific about the water also. Um, to ask for forgiveness for God, and he did. He greatly reduced the punishment. However, it kind of puts it in together. I don't remember reading it in the past when he went ahead and got the second set of tablets for the ark, for the shelf, or for the shrine. Basically, is what the ark is speaking of, that they built in the tabernacle, where the two tablets lie and the Torah lies. So I didn't realize that he went for another 40 days and 40 nights when he did that. So that's basically consecutive 120 days, 40 days and 40 nights. Then as before, I drew myself down before the Lord 40 days, 40 nights. So, 40 days, 40 nights. And so this one, again, I got many more. I'm not a preacher. I'm not doing these videos to preach the Bible. I bring more questions than answers. But in the warning for idolatry, it does say, the false prophets or visionaries who try to lead you astray must be put to death, for they encourage rebellion. So my question is, what if, at this time, before this time, there was actually Buddha was around before this time. Hinduism was around before this time. There was a lot of mysticism. There was a lot of adoration to other gods, and I believe that there was gods of the sky, of the mountain, of the rivers, just because it was all these places are living bodies. The whole earth is a living body. An ocean is a living body. A river is a living body. A mountain is a living body. A land is a living body. The sky is a living body. So I believe that they would praise those living bodies as entities, as individuals per se. I don't think that they praised them as, they were above an overall creator. I think that they just focus on the individuals. So, let's say they truly believed in what they were teaching in their hearts, and they were living a righteous life, and they were doing the right things, and they were loving their neighbors, which was the most important commandment, I think, and many people think, and Jesus himself thought. If they were living a righteous life, and not killing, and they felt in their, still put them to death because they weren't teaching the same, they don't even have to contradict. So that was, and there's the free will again. It sneaks in there, denied. So I do have some concerns about that. I mean, I think I made some notes about it, but just the sheer killing of, taking over land, kind of like, many others in the past that I will not pleasure by giving their names. But they took up the land and made prisoners out of a lot of people. And in some aspects in the past, yeah, they made prisoners, but in some aspects, they didn't leave one survivor. And it specifies, including women, children, and all. The only survivors were the livestock for them to plunder and take over. That doesn't seem very righteous. So, and then again, it speaks about you must not cook a young goat in its own mother's milk. And again, I still ask the question, is this the whole reason of not cooking meat and milk together? Because if this is the whole reason in the two places that it does mention this, that's not enough for me to believe that a whole nation should not cook milk and meat. And maybe they justify by saying, well, we don't know if that milk that was bought from this place and this cheese that was bought from this place and this meat, was actually related in some way. Well, I think that that's reading too much into it. I believe that it's very specific to a young goat and its own mother, not ancestors, not same kind, not anything like that. So I believe wholeheartedly there are many aspects of the Bible that people read way too much into it and run with it. So, and I think that happens in all religions with all religious texts and all texts that have wisdom. Don't even have to be religious. Bankruptcy. That was kind of cool to see, in this, they didn't speak about this in the past. This is again one of those few pieces that were added on. And it says at the end of every seventh year, you must cancel the debts of everyone who owes you money, which was kind of cool because it shows biblical rules still being applied in today's world. You don't think finances and biblical being hand in hand, but that describes bankruptcy. I highlight a lot of places with 7. I like the number 7, and there's just a lot of stuff about 7. I like how it sends a presidents that to investigate matters thoroughly, never put person to death over only one testimony, and it has it in several places over here. And it says, the guidelines for a king, which that's nowhere else that I remember. It says, if you must pick a king for the promised land, when he gets there, the king must not build large horse stables for him, must not, send people to Egypt to buy horses or anything, because our people should never return to Egypt. Must not accumulate a large wealth of silver and gold for himself, and he must take this and read it, carry it and read it daily as long as he lives. So that's kind of cool. There's some precedents, some rules for a king. And here is where they talk about the Levites, which I believe they're fat and rich because they are the priest and they're the ones that get to eat all these sacrifices that are made by millions of people and everything. But in here it does specify that they do not get land. So this is the blessing that they get. Here is, a passage that says, do not let your people practice fortune telling or use sorcery or interpret omens or engage in witchcraft or cast spells or function as mediums or psychics or call the spirits of the dead. So the reason that I put this, one, why? Why not? Is it out of fear that they may find out more in depth as to the things of God? Or is it because by doing it, you enact and revere something else? And the whole questioning of that also is, there's many prophets that are being fortune tellers, that are being um, interpreting omens. And, Moses and Aaron, cast spells themselves, so there's some questionable stuff there. Um, Here it does talk about the Lord your God will raise up a prophet amongst you, like me, Moses speaking. I will raise up a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites. I will put my words in his mouth and will tell the people everything I commanded you. And they say, how would we know the difference? Well, if the prophet speaks of the Lord in the Lord's name, but his predictions does not happen or come true, you will know that the Lord didn't did not give that message. And I think that was the importance of Jesus, um, predicting his death in so many times and predicting the fact that he would raise 3 days after and several things there. But I think that's the reason that it repeats it so many times in the New Testament is to make this accurate. However, the predictions and and fortune telling kind of throws me off a little bit because I feel like there's a bit of the same. Cities of refuge again. That's a recap. Testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. I like that. Again, a recap on a life for a life, eye for an eye, foot for a foot. Regulations concerning war. That was a lot. That was a lot. Dealing with a rebellious son. Poof. So if your kid is rebellious and doesn't want to listen and doesn't want to honor mom and dad, then you must take them and the men of the town must stone them to death. What about mercy? What about forgiveness? There's not a huge amount of forgiveness and mercy in the Torah. I'll tell you that. If you see, I like this. If you see your neighbor's ox or goat or sheep, wandering away, don't ignore it. Bring it to your neighbor, and if your neighbor is nowhere around, keep it for safekeeping for when they come back. It also speaks in the same manner, if you see a donkey or an ox collapse on the road, I put over here car troubles, pull over, because that's what it reminds me of. And a lot of this stuff, I try to see it in the application of our daily life, and that's where I have a lot of conflict, and hopefully I get more clarity. I mean, I have read the Torah now from beginning to end, and some things are clearer and some things are not, so as I read the prophets and so on and so forth, because I know what I've researched, I know what Christianity has taught me, but the reason that I'm reading the Bible myself is because I want to know what this says, and there's a lot of aspects of why do we do this stuff still, and there's a lot of aspects of why don't we do certain of the things that we do here. Not that I want either or, but it makes me question being God's word. But I do like that it has mercy there. If you see, your fellow broken down on the side of the road, pull over, help him on. It's the first time I see don't there was homosexuality spoken in the past, but this one is just dressing. Don't let a man dress as a woman dress as a man. In the past, they spoke about don't mix linen threads. Over here is very specific that you must not wear clothing made of wool and linen woven together. When men accuse their wives of not being virgin, the father must bring the bloody sheep to the elders as proof. If a man's testicles are crushed or his penis is cut off, he may not be admitted to the assembly of the Lord. There's regulations concerning worship, just a lot of miscellaneous regulations. Suppose a man marries a woman, but she does not please him, having discovered this, and this is the justification for divorce. And yet, if another man marries him and then they can't remarry because now it's impure, now it's not even your wife, like it's crazy. When you beat the olives from an olive tree, don't go over and gather them twice. Leave the remaining olives for the foreigners, orphans, and widows. I like that. If a foreigner gets in a fight with if two Israelite men get into a fight and a wife of one tries to rescue her husband by grabbing the testicles of another man, you must cut off her hand, show her no pity. Is this a common thing happening back then, that it has to be written in the Torah? Man, so it goes again. We've already spoken about ties, and all the cursings, and curse those that do all this, bless all these that do all these. Number 7, everywhere. I like how it's, God says, if your family doesn't obey, I will pass on the blessings unto them. So it gives me a little bit of hope that it says, if your family obeys me, I will pass on the blessings that I promised to you, because so much in the past, and then this one too, it recaps in it says, the son will heed the sins of his father, sort of say. Second, third, fourth generations will suffer because of the sins of the father. Over here is, you will be blessed if your children follow my commandments. And my commandments are not beyond your reach. It is not kept in heaven. It is within you. And here is where I see that it says you have a choice. This is the key to your life. But if your heart turns away and you refuse to listen, and if you are drawn away to serve and worship other gods, then I warn you, now you will certainly be destroyed. You will not live a long, good life and occupy. Today I am giving you the choice between life and death, between blessing and curses. Now I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. Oh, that you choose life. So, yes, I'm giving you choice. But if you make the wrong choice, I will destroy you. I will pour curses on you. So there's some stuff there. 7, again, Moses had finished writing his entire book of instruction. So that's where I believe it proclaims that this was Moses as the author. And that's where it says, take this book of instruction, place it in the Ark of the Covenant for the people of Israel. Then there is the Song of Moses, which encapsulates the whole chapter 32. And it, in many ways, it recaps the law, the good, the bad, the ugly. Not just the law, but the curses, the blessings, and so on. Some of the law, I guess. A lot more of the curses and the blessings, some of the law. And then Moses, goes to the mountain. God says, then you will die on the mountain. That's when he predicts his death. And he takes him up and shows them, specifics from here to here to here. So you will see the land from the distance, but you will not enter it. But you'll see the land that I promised Jacob and Joseph and Abraham, that I am giving to the people of Israel. And then Moses blesses the people, and he's very specific on per each tribe. He says something a little different and blesses them. And then Moses dies. Moses goes to Mount Nebo, and the Lord shows him the land. That this is the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, when I said I will give it to your descendants. I have now allowed you to see it with your own eyes, but you will not enter it. And then the Lord himself buries Moses, and nobody to this day knows where. That's interesting. At the age of 120. And, Moses touched Joshua, made Joshua the leader of the people. And he gave this the spirit of wisdom that Moses had unto Joshua. And that was Deuteronomy. Pretty awesome.